Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Is This Love podcast, episode number 16. Yes, the podcast can drive. I am also back with my voice. I am Francis, a.k.a. the other guy, and with me, as always, is the illuminating Sara Nade. Hello, Sara. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you? You sound great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm almost there. I can't hit the high notes, unfortunately, as I sing in my car when I drive to and fro from work. So I can hit the low notes. I just can't hit those high ones quite yet.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Because as we do, before we get into the meat of the show, just to let you know, this is the podcast where we navigate and discuss the weird and wonderful world of love and relationships. And that's what we do. We get your questions, and we do our best to answer them from our vast ocean of experience and knowledge. We do our best to not only
we do our best.
Giggle and laugh at everything. Not you, but just like the world in general. We laugh and giggle because we do. As if you heard the last episode, you definitely know we like to have a good time. But also, we just, we're here to hopefully help you guys out and get you where you want to be in your whatever step you are in the world of relationships, whatever jump you're taking, that risk that so many people are so afraid to take sometimes because will they not like me? Will they like me? Will they like me too much? Or will they just steal my underwear and run away? Who knows? Who knows?
Huh.
I don't know if that's ever happened to you, Sara. I don't know if you've ever been a part of a panty raid, but I know
No.
I have. I mean,
No, you haven't.
No, I haven't. I mean,
I can't believe it.
I know. I can't even pretend to pull that one off. But yeah, before we get started on your questions, though, as I like to do, since I like to let you guys know a little bit more about us, to get a little bit of an insight into our psyche, into what makes us tick, I want to talk about what I was just talking about a second ago, hitting those high notes, hitting those low notes. I want to talk about music. Sara, what is your relationship with music? The one that you hear in the elevator that goes... It's always...
I mean, if it's good, I'll tap my toe. I might bob a little.
Okay. No, but I mean, in the sense of for me, and I don't know if this is something you can relate to, but for me, music is very connected to my past. For instance, I remember high school graduation, thanks to Time of Your Life, Green Day's Time of Your Life, because that was the graduation song. And then I think the year after was Vitamin C and their graduation song. If anyone remembers who Vitamin C is from the 90s. But yeah, so for me, music holds something a little bit special. It holds memories, and it holds relationships, friendships and otherwise, family and love and all that stuff. But for some people, it's just something to listen to, something to bob your head to, or tap, or in your case, tap their foot to. So I was just curious what your relationship was with music.
So for me, it's actually, I have a hard time connecting in my head, a way to memorize bands or musicians and their songs and the song names.
Sure.
I certainly know music when I hear it, that I've heard it before, and I might know the lyrics and the melody, but it's just hard for me to say every time which band made this song and
sure,
the album or any of that stuff. I do definitely connect music to different times in my life and different situations, but I think when I was younger, it actually really bothered me how much people tried to push their music and their preferences on me.
Wow, why? What were they? Why? That's weird.
a couple of situations, it was like really just too much. Like, it was like, no, you have to listen to it. You have to listen to the whole thing. It's amazing. I'm going to talk about this musician constantly, nonstop. And, you know, this other music sucks. I'm like, well, I kind of like that other music. So it became like a very intense thing. So I actually don't really like to push my music on other people. I don't try to convince people to like the same thing as me. And if I really like an album or certain music, I might say, you know, oh, this reminds me of something. Or
Sure.
I used to have this CD when I was younger. It makes me think of this. But I don't talk about it a lot because I didn't like that being pushed on me. So I don't ever do that to other people.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of that before. No one's ever done that to me. I did have one friend. Yeah. Maybe once where I had a friend of mine who in high school, we were both, I don't know, juniors in high school, and we're new friends. Like, I was just getting to know this guy, and we became fast friends, luckily. But one of the things that he did was like, look, you have to listen to this music. It's really great. And he would play for me. He loved Smashing Pumpkins, right? That was his band. And I'm like, okay, I'll listen to it. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this. Cool. He's like, yeah, listen to this. This is what this means. And like, he was like digging into it, like really, really into it.
Yeah.
But it was only one person and only that one time. And so I guess I never got turned off by it because it was only that one instance. But I bring it up because I've been asking around over the last few months, maybe even 6 months lately, and only a couple people have really kind of replied to it. But I'm trying to discover and incorporate and listen to new music or music that means something to somebody, right? Because I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by what other people listen to. Like, I think certain like people's playlists, and I got a couple actually. 2 people were very kind enough to share their entire, like, one of their playlists with me each. And I'm like, it's a very interesting reflection on what a person, right? And what they're going through and what they're feeling. Because like, oh wow, there's a lot of songs pertaining to this particular subject. Is that something that's really on your mind a lot? And
right, yeah.
Right, like, or there's, this one likes really just like beats, like something that you can dance to or sing to. Like, oh, that's interesting. So
yeah.
I mean,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I was just curious. Not that I was asking you to push.
Oh, no. And then I know maybe it's like a weird thing and it doesn't make a lot of sense. It was just like when I was younger, there was a few people who just were really that intense about it and like wouldn't let me just be like, yeah, they're okay. That music's all right. Like, they had to really try to convince me to feel differently about it. And it was like all they talked about. And yeah, they would put down music that I did like. So I'm sure it's not a very common, way to go about music. It's just for me, I'm like, I don't like it when people push their music or like act like their taste is the ultimate taste, People can like different things and that's fine. I will say one song that really I love and kind of mystifies me.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you want to check it out. I don't know. It's called,
I'd be happy to.
And maybe you've heard it before because it's not a new song. It's called Into Dust by Mazzy Star.
Well, I know Mazzy Star. I don't know Into Dust, though, maybe.
You haven't heard that one?
I'm going to look it up because I want to know. Into Dust.
Yeah.
I'm already writing it down so that I can listen to it later. I'm fascinated. I want to hear. I know Mazzy Star. I don't think I know Into Dust. My taste in music is really eclectic and big. So I'll listen to anything. I think there's one version. I think the only type of music I won't listen to is polka. Like, that's the only type of music I will listen to, unless Weird Al is doing it. But anything else,
Yeah.
I'll just I'll listen to anything. Like, right now, I'm into Scottish and Irish ballad, like old, like they're kind of not ballads, but they're traditional music. Like, I'll take the high road and you'll take the low, like that type of music. I'm kind of into it right now, so I've been listening to a lot of that lately. I was into sea shanties like a few months back, because of TikTok. It was all about sea shanties, and I'm like, oh, I love sea shanties. So yeah, I don't have like a particular taste, but thank you for that. If you have any else that come to mind, please let me know because I'm always interested. Know. Yeah. Always
if I can think of them.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah,
I mean, that's when I just listen on its own when I think of it sometimes. It's very sad. So When you're in that kind of mood.
I have a whole playlist because
sad playlist.
Yeah. Look, it was the only way I got through like my bouts of depression was like I listened to sad music because sad is sad is my blanket, right? Sad keeps me warm at night, so I listen to sad music, and I have like 200 and some songs in my sad playlist.
Oh my gosh!
There's a lot of sad songs out there.
There are.
Yeah. So,
there are.
But my happy-go-lucky playlist is at 800 and something right now. I'm trying to hit 1,000.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so it's like triple. Yeah, it's triple my sad music. But
that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I'm only listening. I actually haven't listened to my sad stuff in quite a while. I'm only listening to my happy music, so it's working out right. But you know what? Not everything's happy. Not everyone's sad. But some people are just, I don't know, in a place where they can't figure things out. And we're going to answer those questions and those inquiries from those who are just needing a little bit of that help. And that's where we come to the question segment. Insert Sarah's segment song here.
Is this love questions?
All right. I don't care. I just realized I don't care if there's backing music. I'm going to put it up because that's the segment song. And sadly, Sarah can't hear it, but it's her voice. She knows what she sounds like. All right, what's our first question?
It's going to sound weird to me, though. Your own voice sounds weird to you, right?
Oh, yeah. I can't. Before we get started, I can't. It's kind of why I have a hard time editing sometimes because I have to hear me, and I don't like listening to me usually. Because it doesn't sound like me. It just sounds like somebody else. I'm like, who is that
It's so
guy?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, who's that? Well, that's that guy.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, he's got a dreamy voice. That ain't me.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, anyway, question number 1, I guess. What do we got here?
Okay. Let's see. First question. What do I do if I love someone but they don't love me back? They are the best person I've ever met, and I know we would be perfect together. I can't move on or forget them.
Sarah.
Oh.
Have you ever loved someone that didn't love you back?
I certainly felt like I loved them.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I really feel like if you love someone who doesn't love you back, it's just a really intense crush. I mean, I guess you can feel like you love them, but then you get into the questions of like, what is love?
Baby, don't hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to like diminish anyone's feelings, but my feeling is that I felt like I loved them, but for me, I don't mind labeling it as just a really intense crush because it was unrequited. I don't know that that's like every situation with unrequited love, you know?
You're right. Well, the thing is, oftentimes, I believe that people get themselves into these situations without, I guess, the vocabulary for it, right? Because it could be infatuation, it could be, right, like you said, intense crush. Mm-hmm. But to them, all of that feels the same way. It feels like love, right? Because it all it's all in that category. Even liking someone can feel like love, right?
Yeah.
So it's really tough to say. But in this particular case, sure, right? Like, you know, I felt that way, about Jennifer Lawrence, right? I love her, but she doesn't love me back. And it hurts because she's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, so what do you do in that situation? I guess you become an actor and you know. Anyway, no, but like I guess in this situation, I felt this. I mean, this happened to me so often, especially during like the decade plus of being single. Mm-hmm. I had a very difficult time navigating my feelings because I felt so alone and I felt so unloved that when I did have a crush on someone or when I was infatuated, I did feel like, oh my God, they're amazing. I love them. They're so fantastic. And we build up this idea in our own heads, like, because we don't really know them. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily know how well this person knows the one that they're in love with, but you build this image in their head that they're infallible and they're perfect and they're wonderful and they can never do wrong. which is what infatuation is, right? Like, it's just, you know, you just believe all these crazy things, and then in reality, they're not that perfect, and they have flaws, and maybe we're even ignoring the flaws because we're so infatuated and we're so just in our own heads about this person. And it's really tough because, especially depending on how long you've been alone, been single, desperation sets in. And I know desperation. I did some stupid ass when I was single.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Like, I am the textbook cringe when it comes to how I treated women during that time, because I was very much desperate to fall in love again, because I loved it when I was in love way back when. It's like, this is an amazing feeling. I want this again. Oh, here's another perfect person. And all I did was become some big a-hole and just like smother these people who could have been great friends, who could have been a great acquaintance or something, or just whatever. And I just demolish it by just like in my own head falling in love, because it's just something that you do. Stop smiling like that.
I'm sorry. It's a sympathetic smile, and I'm just like, oh, like all that love, all that. You know, I
had all that left to give.
All those good, like, I know it was unrequited, but it's kind of like that new relationship energy, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And,
it's that special, a very special feeling.
It is. You know, and you want to do, you want to do things for them, and you want to make them happy and all this stuff. But again, they don't share those same feelings for you. You know, they don't have that same passion for you, and it's tough. So how did you move on or forget them, or did you move on and forget them? Are you still pining after all these years?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not still pining for any of my unrequited loves or intense crushes, or whatever you want to call them. I think for me, what ultimately it came down to, and it was hard and it was painful, but is knowing they don't love me, and I don't want to be with someone I have to convince to be with me. I don't want to be with someone I have to talk into loving me.
Right.
And it's really unfortunate when you feel that strongly about someone and they don't feel the way you do, and it just hurts, and it's like in your chest and your throat, and all of the time when you're around them you want to cry because you like them so much. But I just have to say, you know, it's just not going to happen. And even if it did, if I'm imagining in my head that happening with the reality that I live in,
right,
I'm in a relationship with someone I know is not as into it as I am.
Right.
And that's probably even worse, you know?
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's worse. And it's also, you're not going to get the full effect. You're not going to get the benefit off of it, I guess, or you're just not going to get anything out of it, really. And I blame movies and television for making us believe that we can change their mind, right? That's a premise for a lot of romantic comedies, or not even romantic comedy, just anytime there's romance in a film or a movie, not every time, but, you know, there's situations where you see, oh, you know what, if I just do this, or if I try a little harder, obviously they'll see what's amazing about me and they'll fall in love.
Yeah. And it's not like it never happens that someone didn't like someone and then later they change their mind, but it's almost never because the person tried super hard, you know?
No.
Like, so that's, unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to change the situation the way you want to, no matter how hard you try. And, and, it's very unlikely it'll change anyway. So it's so much better to just say, okay, I have to go through the painful process now of falling out of love with them. And it hurts, but saying, you know what, I'm going to feel all the feelings, and I'm going to cry all the tears. I'm going to talk to my friends and family through it if I need to. It could take a while. It's okay. It's a painful process, but it'll be worth it to not be stuck here for however many years, letting anybody who could really be excited about me pass by, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. I couldn't have said it better myself because in all honesty, right? If you are like me, were like me, not so much anymore, but if you were like me when I was desperate and cringy, you actually scare them off more than you bring them in because that's scary for a lot of women that this guy is so persistent and isn't getting the hint. And it's even the potential of having, again, a friend or somebody, you know, in any type of respect that's close to a relationship, not necessarily one of romance, is out the window because you just totally destroyed something that could have been just like a cool, like, okay, we're cool. Like we're two people who can be friends and hang out and
yeah.
I don't have to make it weird. But guess what I did? I made it weird. And you will too if you hold on to it. You will make it weird and make it difficult and it's just going to be tough. And so Sarah's right, you know. Find some friends who are going to be, you know, find your support group that aren't going to encourage you to do weird stuff. Because I know there's some groups that are just like too supportive in the sense of like it hurts you in a way.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if you have like friends who are saying like, no, you can change their mind, don't listen to that.
Well, yeah. But it's only because they're not in the situation, and so therefore they do not have any consequences for giving that type of advice. Right?
That's true. And I mean, I don't want to say don't shoot your shot, you know, like,
oh yeah.
Don't, I mean, keep it to yourself because you think there's zero chance. Sometimes learning that somebody likes you makes you consider it, but it sounds like this question, since they know they don't love them, they probably did ask them and tell them how they felt. So yeah, I would say, you know, if you want to be friends with this person,
at the very least,
even if they're not going to be with you, even if they're not going to love you, if you still would like a friendship, then you're probably going to ruin the friendship thing if you push too hard all the time. Like you're saying, that's true. Yeah. And if, you know, you love them so much that being a friend with them would be difficult, then you don't have to be friends with them either.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You figure out what's best for you, but it's really good for you. You deserve to find somebody who wants to be with you as much as you want to be with them and is really excited about it. And you can just get stuck on someone who that's just not going to happen with. And that's really unfortunate because then you're just wasting time.
Yeah. Because lastly, before we move on, is just like, because I think friends are well-meaning when they say, oh, but you're so great and you're so wonderful. Oh, you know, like, why wouldn't they want to be with you? You know, and they do that kind of weird encouragement, which is nice. But also, it also sends the wrong message, especially if they've already kind of voiced, especially if the person that you're interested in has already voiced that there's not that kind of interest in you. It's like, yeah, that's not the advice I need right now.
Well, I feel like a good friend would say, you're great. They're crazy for not being into you. You can find someone better. You know, I think that's a good friend.
Yeah. Better. And then you're like, no, but there's no one better because they're perfect.
Right, yeah. And then they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Time for the good friend, like, slap to the face.
Right.
Because
time for some tough love.
Exactly.
Then you get a smack in the back of the head.
The proverbial slap, not the real slap. You don't want to be friends with someone who really slaps you.
I'm okay with that. Slap me if you feel I'm being stupid. I'm okay.
Don't slap me. That's permission.
I give permission to anyone who thinks who needs to smack me.
Oh my goodness.
All right, but look, you know, sometimes you're already in a relationship, and even then, we still have some hurdles to jump and some negativity to have to get over. Sarah, what's the next question?
Okay, the next one is, my family is cold and rude to my girlfriend. They don't say anything overt to her, but they make her feel excluded and sometimes get in subtle digs that hurt her feelings, I think it was going to say. I really, it's a little bit I think it was to say they get in subtle digs that hurt her feelings. I really don't want to get into a confrontation with my family because I don't think they'll change and will just get upset. So she said she won't come to family gatherings anymore. I want my family and my girlfriend to get along. What can I do? What? You have a face?
Well, every sitcom of the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, right, represent relationships this way, where the girlfriend or the boyfriend or the husband or the wife never get along with the in-laws or the other, the other family, and they hate each other. Like, I think of course, Seinfeld, right? And how George's, I forget her, the fiance, but the fiance's family hated George like a lot. Like, oh my god, they just had this disdain for this man that was palpable, right? For good reason.
Yes,
like it wasn't unwarranted.
Yeah, he was a terrible fiance.
He was a terrible fiance, but. He killed his fiance. He killed his.
Yeah, I mean, he was bad even before that, and that is bad. But what was that? I think he actually, you know what? I can't fault him too much because he did suggest that they buy glue sticks.
That's true.
And instead, she decided to lick them all. I mean, he did also buy the cheapest ones that had the poison glue, but he said we could buy some glue sticks. So
yeah, so he
should have taken advice.
He made an attempt. He tried. He was also in the pool, but it doesn't really matter. So, it's almost, I don't know, a trope for in-laws and your families not to get along with the girlfriend or the boyfriend. And I witnessed this too in real life. Not to me personally, but I have seen it. Have you experienced this personally, or known people who've experienced this? Because
I do know of people who have difficulties with their in-laws of different natures and different degrees. Yeah. I mean, I don't know very many people who have like perfect in-law relationships that they like brag about. So maybe I don't hear everything, but when I do hear something about in-laws, it's usually about something, Yeah,
like I'm a weirdo who really got along well with my in-laws when I had them. I was really close to them, but
oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
I mean, it does happen. Like I've always gotten along with all of my like boyfriends' families, and most people in my family who are married in like get along great with the family. But from like outside of my personal experience, I do hear, things.
No. I'm with you. I as well. I have witnessed it and I've seen it. So I know totally that there are families that don't get along, that there are relationships that don't get along. Now, you can't force the situation, unfortunately. Right? Like if you had a boyfriend that just didn't, your family or parents or whatever didn't like, you're not going to force it down their throat. You're not going to bring the guy along every single time and be like, well, you have to live with the fact that. I would think that there has to be some type of compromise. I would hope. I would think.
Man, that would be a really difficult situation. We're a pretty close family, and my family tries really hard to be like inclusive. So it would be very upsetting to me if I was dating someone so horrible that my family was like, "Don't bring him along."
See, I don't know, but it might not be that the person's horrible, but that they just have incompatible personalities, right? Like they're nice and they're this and they're that, but sometimes there's just something about somebody that rubs another person the wrong way. And That's not
true.
Yeah, it's not to their fault. It just happens to be that I don't know, maybe they just don't see eye to eye on certain things, but as a person, they're really polite and really nice and whatever, but for some reason, they just don't meet in the middle when it comes to, I mean, maybe something as dramatic as politics or something, right? Like, there's just something, though, in which there was connection, but there's just something there that just doesn't seem to gel well. And that just happens, right? That's why, I mean, I went through high school and college with individual friend groups that never met because I knew if they did, they would hate each other because they had such different personalities, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a little bit of a chameleon. I can deal with different personalities. I don't automatically push people away because they're so different in whatever way, shape, or form. You know, I find something that's likable about them, and I have them in a friend group. But I had like several, and they didn't really. Yeah, they just, some of them I knew if I put them all together, there'd be not that they fight or anything, but they just would not get along. So in this case, and tell me if I don't know. Maybe you think this is a bad idea, or maybe a bad suggestion. Okay, but maybe they just don't hang out in large events. Like they just have it. They're just little spoonfuls of each other for different things. And for bigger events, you know, like Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, the big holidays or whatever holiday you happen to celebrate, right? Mm-hmm. You just kind of go your separate ways a little bit just so that you don't kind of rock the boat. And then for the smaller events, like maybe a birthday here, or like a get together there, you bring her in to let the family know, hey, we're still together. This is still a thing that I am willing to have in this relationship. And then just be like, well, all right, they're not gonna. We already know they're not gonna get along. And if we keep this up for too long, they're just gonna start chewing each other's heads off. Let's just small doses. Plop. Here we go. Happy birthday. Blow out the candles. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah. I'm sure that's how some people end up doing it. Like I said, this is hard for me to imagine because my family works really hard to make everyone very comfortable. Sure. So someone would have to be pretty ornery for them to like not be able to get along with them. But I know some people's families are more, judgmental or sometimes more dramatic. Maybe there's, some personality disorders floating around in the family. Who knows? But also your significant other could be the problem causer, They could be the one like blowing up over nothing or demanding you cut off your family, things like that when there's not really a good reason. So it could really come from either side. Idealistically, and this is idealistic because I don't have to face the situation. Mm-hmm. Idealistically, I would say you unfortunately are the diplomat between these two groups. It is your job to settle the stuff between them. If your family, ultimately, if everything was equal, I would say you do need to kind of side with your significant other a bit and protect them and stand up to your family against them stand up to your family for them because your family's attacking them and they don't really have any recourse to do anything to your family, and it's your family. So you can't just be like, well, that's just how they are, just deal with it. You need to talk to your family and set some boundaries. And maybe you have to say, we're not coming anymore if you can't treat my girlfriend with respect. You need to stop saying these things to her, Right. And if your girlfriend's the one who's being like, I hate your sisters and your mom because they're ugly and you have to cut them off. I don't know, something ridiculous, then you have to talk to her and be like, look, no, I'm not cutting off my family and they're trying really hard and let's maybe, I don't know, go to therapy or something. But, it's your job, basically, as the person in the middle.
Yeah. And it's unreasonable for either party, especially if you get along with both your significant other and your family and you get along with both of them really well. It's just that they don't get along. I feel it's unreasonable for either party to be like, get rid of the other person or get rid of that, or at least cut contact because that now they're being manipulative and they're really making you pick sides, and you shouldn't have to pick a side. It's not your. Yeah, you're right. You're Sarah. You're absolutely right. He or she, whoever the person who has this issue is the mediator, so they have to kind of work it out. I just think for the sake of keeping the drama to a minimum, just like, hey, it's the holidays, and I am not bringing so-and-so over because, well, that's just going to cause issues, and I would rather have a good time. And they would rather have a good time as well, right? Like, I'm certain that time away is just kind of a thing. I think the ultimate solution is to move as far away from your family as possible. Maybe the other side of the country or something. Maybe a whole other country altogether. And then, be able to visit them once or twice a year so that, hey, they don't want to cause drama because this is the 1 to 2 times you get to see each other, and they're going to make the best of it.
Yeah. I will say, I've online, I've read of a lot of situations, this comes up a lot, where someone has, a mother-in-law.
It's always the mother-in-law.
And she's just horrible to this person. Yeah. And the husband or the spouse, that connects the two parties is just like, well, that's just how my mother is. I'm not going to do anything because that's how she is. So can you just tell her you don't like it or just put up with it? And this person is feeling harassed, and a lot of times the horrible mother-in-law will show up to the house unannounced and just criticize. And it's this spouse can't escape the mother-in-law and has nobody coming to bat for her.
Yeah. And
if all things are equal, it's more difficult, like you said, to figure out what to do. But if you have if your family is attacking your spouse or really being horrible to them, you do need to stand up for them.
Stand up for them, but also, again, I feel that's how do you resolve that? You can't force the mother-in-law to be nice to someone they don't like.
Unfortunately, you might have to set some boundaries you really don't want to, and say things like, you can't come over anymore if you keep calling, my wife the you-know-what word.
Right.
Or something,
Yeah.
It's hard. You don't want to do it, but...
Stop telling her you'll see her next Tuesday, okay? Leave that alone.
Right, exactly.
Stop it. But and if you have kids, it's you want to see your grandchild, right? We can't, the grandchild is connected to my, wife or girlfriend or whatever. You want to see this person, this little baby. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there's an attachment here, so you have to either live with that and treat her well, or at least not attack her or him or whatever. But there's always kind of those weird ultimatums that you're right may have to happen, and boundaries, sure, but I also think the boundaries are an ultimatum either way, because it's well,
I mean. Okay, so at some point you may get to the point where you say, I'm cutting contact with you if XYZ. That's a very extreme case. And oftentimes with family, they're always your family. There's always a chance that they could change. Some people say, no, we cut contact. That's it. I'm done with them. They're so toxic. I can't even have them in my life at all. Right. But a lot of times you can say, you can't come over anymore until you figure this out, or until you try to be nicer or whatever. And that's just a boundary. I think if you get to this point, though, you could be dealing with, family members who are toxic and just in general. It's not just an unfortunate relationship thing. It just happens these two people rub each other so wrong that they both turned into sociopaths, it's usually someone who has difficulty respecting other stuff in relationships. So sometimes boundaries are just the way you need to go, and it's hard because you grew up and built a different kind of dynamic where they just did what they wanted and nobody stopped them.
Right.
But there's also the people who, are my child is my very special someone, and this spouse of theirs stole them away from me, and I hate them. And then it's very hard to say, I'm putting boundaries in place, even though I'm your very special child.
Right.
Yeah. So it's tough. It's not easy. Otherwise, there'd be so much less like in-law drama in the world.
I know, and there's so much of it, which is why, again, the real solution is move to the other side of the country or into.
It's not a terrible idea.
It kind of isn't, right? Like, you need an excuse to make these situations less frequent, and therefore, and I believe this would be less volatile because they know. And this is the only moment, and you can't ruin the few moments you have together per year. All right.
Just run away. That's the answer to that one.
Well, I think the reason why this is a harder question to answer than other ones that we've received is because, A, we haven't experienced it ourselves. So we haven't had to come up with our own solutions, right? We haven't had to think of a way to solve the problem. And I think you're right. Like, sometimes people just have to be adults and get along because they have a common thing and they have something in common, which is the person who is the connection in between, right? Whether it be whoever it is, like, that person connects the in-laws with the significant other, and you can't get rid of that person in the middle because that's the reason. Like, that's the person. And how do you navigate that? Normally, without causing any troubles. And I think you just can't avoid it. I think these are one of those questions where, like, that are just maybe impossible to answer simply because there's no one-size-fits-all solution. And really, there's not one-size-fits-all solution to any of these questions, but we get pretty close. In this particular case, it's so hard to get close because it's just like, what do you do? It's like, I don't know. And so you just, it's one of those, it's just one of those questions that you'll never know an answer to. Like, who let the dogs out? And is this love? We don't know. Those are questions we'll never be able to answer. So we just have to, like, accept that it'll be difficult and accept that you'll have to either mediate and play good cop, bad cop, or just kind of
flee the country.
I'm telling you, best way to do it.
I mean,
flee the country.
It depends how much you hate confrontation.
It depends on how much tolerance you have for two people. How much can you tolerate the thickest possible tension in a room that you can literally cut with, like, those little knives that come in a Swiss Army knife? They're really tiny, but boy, can you slice through that tension. Just like nobody's business. Anyway. Oh dear. All right. Well, someone who does like to or is okay with letting us know who they are because they put their name, stamping it on their emails, which we love. Others, again, for some reason, and we respect it, just want to keep anonymous. But Tony, as he now likes to be called, I guess, he was Anthony a while ago. Now he's Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Has sent us an email that I can kind of, I get it. I can kind of relate to this. What do you want to hit here on this email, Sarah?
Okay, well, I will just read the main thing here.
The main thing.
So he says, "Hi, Francis and Sarah. I hate the friend zone."
Which is that cool, that it's like Chuck E. Cheese, but for friends.
For friends. It was written in all caps. That's why I said it so emphatically.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay.
That's screaming right there. Yeah.
Don't want to scream in the mic.
No.
I guess I should explain what I'm talking about. Recently, on many of my comments that I've made towards females on social media, Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, I've given them a general comment of, "Oh, how pretty," or "That's sexy," and in response I've gotten something back with, "Thank you, friend," or "I'm glad you think so, friend." Frankly, a kind thank you or "what a nice thing to say" would be enough, but to add the word friend makes me feel so much less than a man.
Oh.
And then he just goes on to say that maybe women feel the same way, and how do either genders handle it? How should he handle it?
Wow. Well, I guess this is kind of a very simplified friend zone, really, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Friend zone is very specific in that you have affections towards someone, and then they're just like, no, we're just friends.
Yeah, you are like in a friendship with them usually. They are like, we won't be together, but we are going to be friends.
Right. When you want, it kind of goes back to the first question, right? Where there is affection from one person, but the other person's like, not so much. But they recommend, or at least give the option of like, well, we can always be friends. Which I guess is at least better than being like, oh, you're like a brother to me, which I think dudes hate. Being called a brother, even though, again, if current pornography has anything to do with it, maybe that's a good thing.
Oh my God.
Could be a good thing for some people. Anyway.
Jeez.
Sorry. I just saying, had to bring that up. But, well, I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, well, so I would say try not to take this personally. It really doesn't have to do with you or any one individual man. Women these days need to navigate the world using like broad strokes of precaution, dealing with unknown men they encounter, even though there are good men out there, especially on social media where you really can't know anybody just from like their comments or something like that. And unfortunately, a lot of people see attention as equal to affection. So a lot of guys take any kind of response or kind words from a romantic or sexual interest to mean their feelings are encouraged. So women will use words like friend to signify that they don't have anything other than friendly feelings towards that person. It's sort of just like a safety catch-all. The thing is, though, like, most people who don't really have any ulterior motives are, would find someone calling them a friend after, like, a short encounter online, like, a nice thing, Oh, cool, they think I'm their friend. So you might think a bit, too, like, why just hearing the word friend from someone you have zero relationship with is like a problem. Right. It's really not meant to be an insult or any kind of, harsh rejection. It's more of a friendly way to say, hey, I see you in a friendly way. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And look, oftentimes, depending on who you're interacting with, a lot of these females on social media don't even have to respond to you, right? They don't even have to say anything to you. The fact that they say anything at all is kind of nice. Because Lord knows I see it a lot when I go and I lurk on Twitch or something, or I lurk on these places where there's plenty of men vying for the attention of a single lady. Mm-hmm. Which apparently I say lady creepily, but...
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I've been told whenever I say the word lady, it sounds creepy. I'm like, I'm just saying lady. I don't know. Maybe if I said it like, Jerry Lewis, hey, lady, and then maybe people would find it more. Maybe there's more equal and better response. Like, oh, yeah, no, I get where you're coming from.
That would be really funny.
All right, I guess. All right, ladies, I'm going to be doing that from here on out. So I apologize ahead of time. But no, I think that also it's a common comment that these particular women get, especially in those types of platforms where they get pretty or sexy, right? Like that's something that a lot of people say to them at some point or another. And again, getting kind of a response at all is fairly good. And I get where you're coming from, right? Like I have been, like I had mentioned, I've had years of doing the solo life thing, and being able to comment on someone's appearance is something that guys like to do, right? It's a little bit of projection because we want to get a compliment back, right? We're a little bit of fishing for compliments when we say someone's pretty or sexy. We're kind of fishing for a response that's provocative or, familiar, right? Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, that's not enough for a lot of women to go off of either. You know, saying someone is pretty or sexy is a nice compliment, but it's also something that doesn't mean anything. Because there's a lot of pretty and sexy people out there that hear those words. So really, as an individual, how you should handle it is probably by not saying those things, because you can set yourself apart from the crowd. It's not going to guarantee they're not going to call you a friend, as again, you should be, I mean, maybe you should, I mean, you can be whatever you want to be, but I'm like, I would feel fairly thankful that somebody responded to me at all, because again, no one has to respond to me. No one has to say anything to me, and someone is saying, hey, well, thank you. Right? Even if they attach the word friend to it. But I know what you mean. I know that feeling. I did a project once with a woman I was particularly, I thought I was interested in, and I at some point let that person know while I was working with them on this project. And every time we got together to work on this thing, her thing was, hello, friend. Hi, friend. How are you doing, friend? Like, maybe not emphasis on the friend, but it felt like emphasis on the friend. Like, hello, friend. I'm like, okay. Thanks. I know. And I would kind of reply like you would be like, do you really have to say that? Like that, I feel like you're rubbing it in. Like you're calling me I know. I get it. Like, no chance. I got it, but please stop that. Like, because I mean, I understand. It felt emasculating. I was like, oh man, like I'm okay. I get it. I'm not up to snuff for you. I understand. And it's a little, I get that, and I get that feeling. But at the same time, I had to respect that, because that's what it was. Back to question number 1. It's unrequited interest. Not even love, just interest. And it's like, you got to live with that, Either you keep the friendship or keep that going, or you move on. And maybe that's what you need to do, is like, well, maybe stop giving these people attention that call you friend, and like, well, I don't want to be that friend. I don't want to be a friend. I want to be more or something. And again, I don't know your relationship with these people. I don't know if it's just people you meet or see on the social medias. If it is, then that's not enough to build anything. Even a friendship is not enough to build anything, because they don't know who you are. You're just a person who's commenting. So, but I get it. I get where you're coming from. But also realize that if it's people you're familiar with and people you're comfortable with, and you who know that you have affections towards them and that it's something that you'd like to pursue, then yeah, that could be tough. But also then that they're kind of putting the stop to that and saying, well, I don't know. Am I being weird and ridiculous, Sarah, or does anything I've said make sense? Because I know sometimes I ramble and I don't make sense.
Yeah, I think that what you said about your friend that you liked, and she said, I don't like you that way. Yeah. If you guys decided to still be friends and you weren't like hitting on her or anything, I can see why it might be annoying to you that she keeps saying friend really strongly, as if you've forgotten that she said, let's just be friends. Yeah. And that can always be like a discussion, but that's something where you guys were friends, like in real life. Yeah. And that's like a discussion to be had amongst friends. Right. And I think that's very different than complimenting women's appearances online. Right. I mean, I have a feeling for Tony, it's the case, and for many men, the case that they compliment a woman's appearance online is because they find her attractive and would love for her to be interested in them. Yeah. And so, she has to kind of like navigate how she responds. She doesn't want to come off as like cold and doesn't respond to anybody because, everyone's horrible. I mean, it's her right, absolutely, to not respond to anybody. Maybe that's the better bet for some people. Right. But if she wants to respond at all, then she has to think about, it's not just going to be what I'm saying. There's going to be another message attached in a lot of people's minds to this.
Yeah.
Which I was saying, like, a lot of people equate attention to affection and they'll see it as encouragement. So just calling someone randomly online friend, it's not really like, I wouldn't call that the friend zone.
No, well, no. But I mean, I get the play on words. Yeah, I get the play on words on that one. Yeah.
I know he does. It sounds like, I get that it sounds like she's emphasizing that she just sees you as a friend.
Right.
But what she's really saying is, just so you know, I appreciate it, but I'm not reciprocating anything. And I'm trying to say that in a very kind way.
Yeah. And you see, the thing is also, those types, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, again, if you don't know them personally and it's just somebody that you happen to compliment, that's an industry that women make money off of by being complimented, right? Like the whole industry, there's a whole industry of women who just pretty much, like, their whole point is to get the attention of men, and that's it. Just get attention. There's no, and oftentimes they have relationships they don't talk about because, again, they want to sell the illusion that they're available and that you can potentially get them. But it's all an illusion. That's the only thing. It's an illusion. And when it comes to this type of thing, as a guy, you really just have to kind of step away from that. My recommendation is don't compliment anyone online that you don't know personally, right? Compliment people you know personally, but if it's someone who you just kind of know tangentially or just someone who happens to be pretty or sexy online, I would avoid complimenting them because you're not going to get anything back that's of any substance anyway. Secondly, I would just say and you also asked what a girl would think. Well, I can't answer for that, right? Because I'm not a girl, and no one's ever complimented me. No one's ever called me pretty or sexy, which makes me sad. But I mean, ladies, if you want to call me pretty and sexy, I'll take it. But this is where, right? Like Sarah, like like you were saying, like this is kind of, it's at the discretion of the person who happens to be posting these images up or whatever to say anything or even engage in any way, really. So there's really not much for them to really do outside of that.
Well, and like you said, this is an industry. It's their job a lot of the time to do this sort of thing. So usually it is good for them for their job to somewhat engage with their fans.
Yeah.
And tons of their fans are guys who are just like, I know what this is. I'm telling her she looks nice, but I don't expect anything. Yeah. And, if she's like, cool, thanks, friend, they're like, cool. And that's it. And they know that she's not going to be interested in them. She's not going to see their message and think that they're a special person. And that's fine. But she knows there's guys who aren't like that. All these women know that there are guys out there who will get angry and who will get aggressive and who will bring their, horde of angry, aggressive friends down upon her social media, and she'll have to disappear. And just like, it's always like on a teeter-totter of like fragility there. Yeah. So it's risky, even though maybe no one will find where she lives and like attack her physically. Mm-hmm. Although some people will, if they're angry enough, will go to the effort of finding that out and like doxing people. Right. But there's still other risks. She could lose her entire, her whole livelihood if she has to shut down all of her social media and disappear from the internet because she angered the wrong person who got the wrong idea. So it's dangerous, and they have to step very lightly. And maybe it doesn't feel good to feel like, well, she didn't respond the way I wanted to, but she's trying to do that while also not coming off as maybe as she really would talk to you in a one-on-one person, but whatever's the safest way for her to say it to the widest variety of guys she could possibly be talking to. So,
yeah, Tony, just let us know if, again, what the scenario is, if this is, if we've helped, if what we said made any sense, or if, again, if this is a relationship that's more like you actually know these people, and maybe we can give you some more different. Again, the advice would be different, and the recommendations would be different if that were the case. But if it's just if it's some people if that are online and that are on social media, it's just unfortunately it's just better to kind of let that one go. And or at the very least, I guess my last recommendation is don't say those things. Instead, ask them about them. Don't just compliment them on their looks. Just talk about them. Ask them about them. Show interest. Yeah,
and like if you get hurt like from people's responses, it's always fine to step away from. It's always easy and good for mental health to step away from social media in any, distance that you need, even if it's just not commenting, like Francis said, and taking a break from that. I mean, social media can mess with us in so many ways. So,
oh God, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why if ever and I don't do this very often, I don't really interact with a bunch of people on social media in general, unless I know them. But if it's someone who's a stranger whom I'm just like, something that they did or something that they wrote or took a selfie of or whatever was interesting, and I don't just compliment them. I don't actually compliment them at all. I'd be like, that was interesting. What was that? What was this thing? I know, that sounds cool. Like, engage in conversation. That's kind of the best way for anybody, because again, they always get the compliments. Be the weird, be the unique one and the different one, the one that stands out, and just have a conversation. Even if it's a little friendly and it stays friendly, at least you're having a conversation, which I think is way better than just being like, hey, you look nice. I never compliment Sarah on her looks, ever.
I appreciate it. I don't even know what to say after that now. But, okay, I honestly like compliment. I do compliment my lady friends, but I'm kind of careful about complimenting my guy friends, especially like because I know that we're like totally platonic, and I don't want to make them uncomfortable. And I know that seems really weird because so many guys are like, I would love more compliments, but I have like said nice things to my guy friends before where we're like platonic, and I could tell they felt weird about it. And I was like, I just as a friend, that's totally all I meant. I don't want you to think like suddenly I've caught feelings or something.
I know, yeah.
But guys can be like that too. Guys can feel a little bit weird when they get complimented on their appearance by a platonic friend.
Yeah.
So it's just, it can go both ways.
No, that's true. And look, I mean, you don't talk about it, but she knows I don't blink or anything when she calls me hot right before the show. She's like, "Oh my God, you're so hot." And I'm like, jeez, I know. God, you got it. Stop it already.
Stop it, friend.
I just kind of take it. Stop it, friend. No, I just take it in stride because I know. Anyway, no, well, let's get into this here. Now we have Right Cow, Left Coast's Corner. No questions this time, and I'll be taking it here because I feel like look, Right Cow, I'm really glad you're listening to the show, and I'm really glad you're writing in every episode. I really appreciate it. We both do. We love it. You give us stuff to think about, stuff to talk about. It's great. And I know you're going through a hard time right now, and we have, I think we spent, the last episode, we were sharing our thoughts and feelings and sending you our condolences, and we do still today. Like, that hasn't changed. But I do feel that you have a lot on your plate right now. And some of the comments in your latest email, I feel like that maybe now is not necessarily the right time to be listening to this show, because we do, we have a different vibe right now than I know what you're feeling, what you're going through. Mm-hmm. As someone who, unfortunately, I think neither of us have really, I guess, had this experience yet. I mean, at some point, of course, we will, right? Everyone does. That's how life is. But we haven't gone through it yet. So I think the closest for me was I lost a grandmother who was really close to me, of whom I mourned for a long time. And I took a step back and stepped away from certain things. And I'm not saying this is something you have to do, right? Kyle Left Coast, not something I feel, this is just a recommendation. Because I know that you have a lot going on. But maybe, taking a bit of a step back and taking care of your needs and, taking care of yourself right now is probably the most important thing. Again, it's not something you have to do. It's just a recommendation, because I know Sarah and I, we laugh a lot about a lot of things. We get silly on the show. It's something we want to do. We understand that people have some crazy things going on in their love lives, and we do our best to provide genuine, real recommendations and advice. We want to help people. We want to give them some ideas and something that they can hold on to kind of potentially fix their whatever's going on with them, right? That's what we're trying to do here. And I don't know if we're necessarily providing that for you at the moment. Because, again, as much as we both understand the loss and how much that could be weighing heavily on you, the show continues to still be lighthearted and get comedic in our own way, as much as we try to be funny for each other and try to make each other laugh. And again, that's not necessarily the right place for everyone, wherever they are in their life. And look, if this is cathartic for you to write to us every episode, then please continue to do so, because we want to help. If that's what helps you, then please keep doing it. But if it's something that you find that you struggle with, or something that you find that is difficult to do, to listen to the show, to hear us kind of just being really giggly and laughing and just kind of making, taking things seriously, but also making light of our own silliness, then please take some time. We're going to be here. The corner's still going to be here. It's always going to be here. Whenever you're ready to write back, we're ready for more, of your questions, for more of your insight, and we're happy to talk about it and to delve into it, and we're always excited to do so. So again, this is just a recommendation based on your last email to us, and I know you won't hear this for another 2 episodes, so. You will have listened to another episode. You'll have sent us another email for sure. But when you hear this, please, take some time for yourself. You have a lot to plan for and a lot to get ready for, and know that again, we're happy to listen to you for whatever you need. But also, if this is a bit much, please take your time. All right, take some time away. Take some time to gather your thoughts, gather your feelings, and really, find the support and love from your family and friends, which we are. Look, we're including in that now. We have a corner all for you. So, if it's something you want to hit us up off air, if it's not if you don't want to send an email, you have my personal Facebook, you have all that stuff. So if you want to talk to me there, more than happy to talk to you there. So, but look, we're with you, and we're, again, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we're here to help you get through this hard time. So, like I said, only a recommendation. I know it can be tough. I know, and I'm just recommending because this is what I would do in a situation where, I would step away from this stuff and do what I, just kind of go somewhere else. Especially if it's tough to listen to. So, just throwing it out there. But thank you again for the email. We'll cover it again if you really want us to go through it. I just felt like, look, this is, some time to kind of, again, step away. So, there you go. But, our email and our everything else is open. So let us know, please. Good luck. All right. So, I guess, on a weird transition, I guess we'll tangent away from that into our final section. Mm-hmm. We have had behind the scenes, because I would have edited this masterfully, but a lot of technical difficulties behind the scenes. So hopefully this is going to be like a 3-hour long episode, but I don't think it will. So let's go ahead and get into our an article.
Okay. Should we do love languages?
Oh yeah, I thought that dude, we agreed on this before the show when you told me I was hot.
Did.
When you told me I was hot, you said we're going to do love languages, and I'm like, yes.
When I told you you're hot, I was like, Francis, you're hot. Let's do love languages. That was exactly the conversation that happened before the show.
Exactly, word for word, verbatim. If I had recorded it, I would have placed it right here. Anyway,
and then you were like, Sarah, you're looking great. I was like, shut up. I'm the only one who's allowed to compliment looks on.
You're looking very fetching. I don't know what fetching. I'm not fetching anything. No. You're very comely today. Wait.
There has to be a neutral one, because there's comely and homely.
What is the neutral one?
Handsome.
No. So I know that handsome is just like, at least, okay, tell me if I'm wrong, but isn't handsome like the polite way of saying not attractive at all? Isn't that like for women? I mean, not for men. Because handsome for men is handsome. But when you call a woman handsome, I always thought it's like, oh, they're ugly, aren't they?
Honestly, I thought it meant actually some kind of attractive. It's like an older term. I don't think people call women handsome that much anymore.
No.
I'm probably not going to be able to find it, but hold on one second.
No. As she loudly mutes.
Was that loud?
The weird thing is with that mic, the button, you hear the button when you press it for the mute. It's really funny. Don't worry about the typing. I will erase it after the fact.
Now you're going to have to erase the mute button. That's horrible. Like, what a terrible design.
It's fine.
Okay. What is a handsome woman, according to Google, I guess?
Okay, what is handsome woman?
While handsome is more often used for men, women can also be called handsome. When a woman is described as handsome, it suggests she is very good looking and also healthy and strong. Handsome is less likely to be used to describe a woman who is petite or delicate.
It's like a horse.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, it does sound like a horse. What a handsome woman.
What a handsome woman. I would ride her not in the typical way I would a woman, but with a horse out into the wilderness. I would trot with her out. She is so handsome. Oh wait. Oh my god, that is the funniest definition for a woman. See, so handsome, I feel, is like oh my gosh. Did you ever, I don't know, did you ever see Game of Thrones?
I did, yeah. Oh, you're thinking of that blonde...
Brienne of Tarth.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. She would be considered handsome because
she would be considered handsome.
A large, built, a strong, hefty woman who can...
Healthy woman
who can pull a cart if she wanted to.
Who can carry her male admirers across the threshold.
Across the threshold. Just like a cat. With her...
Oh, hi, Pete.
Pete the podcat.
Says you've been talking for too long.
I know. We've been talking for too... Well, I blame the technical difficulties, really, because that took a chunk of our time. But anyway. All right. So...
Okay.
Let's talk about love languages. Something I don't think we've really touched on. I mean, I know we've mentioned it, but we don't touch on love language really very much on this show. And I don't know why, because I feel that is almost kind of basic love 101 or the love languages. So talk to me. What is a love language?
Well, from what I can remember, the 5 love languages are acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, and gifts.
Okay.
And so it's basically like how you like to receive love from your partner and how you give love. So if you're if you like to receive acts of service, right? If that's your love language, what you like to receive, then it really means a lot when your partner, does stuff for you. Maybe they take your car in to get it cleaned when it needs to be done, or they just do the dishes without being asked, or they do your laundry even though it's your laundry and they don't need to do it. But maybe their love language is words of affirmation. So when you really thank them for doing these things, you have this perfect, what do you call it? What is it called? Is it synchronicity? No, it's not.
Compatibility.
I can't think of the word.
No.
It starts with an S.
It's not. It isn't synchronicity.
Maybe it is.
I don't know.
It starts with an S. I don't think it is synchronicity.
Sexiness. It
is sexiness. Let's just go with that. You have this perfect sexiness of love.
Yeah. Oh man.
Anyways, you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. There's a synergy to it. Maybe synergy? No.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe that's the word. Synergy.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
Okay.
I don't know. My brain's going dead.
I know. It's but yeah. So well, all right. So there's 5 different love languages. It's good to know. It's not something everyone knows off the bat. I mean, I know it's 101, but it's not something that everyone knows immediately. It has to be learned or taught, and it is probably something good to know because everyone expresses love differently. Who knew? And
yeah,
and sometimes, the two people, it's not the same thing, right? Like maybe your partner is an affirmation person, but you want more of a gift person, right? Like, oh man, I wish they would show their love through gifts, but instead they show it through affirmation, which is kind of like a gift, but in the form of words.
The gift of words.
The gift of words.
I'll tell you, the gift person will not appreciate that. No, I didn't want the gift of words. I wanted flowers and chocolates. Exactly. So use your words to buy those for me.
Use your words to call up the florist and the candy shop and get me my chocolates and my roses. Or maybe or maybe your love language is acts of service, but really they just want, which I guess can go with quality time, right? Because you're giving your time. Maybe that's the service, is your time. So it can mix and match. But if your love language is quality time, but they want physical touch, that might not necessarily always work out, because quality time could be like, I'm calling you on the phone. This is quality time. Right? We're talking while we're away. It's like, no, I need your hand somewhere. Around my shoulder.
Right. Like, you could just be happy with phone calls forever.
Yeah.
But then your partner's love language is being starved, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it is really helpful to know each other's love languages. Yeah. Some people don't, I don't know, maybe they don't care or they don't believe in it or something, but it's not like horoscopes or, spell casting. I think there's some psychology behind it. It's pretty basic. It's
I don't believe you. I don't believe in gifts. Right. Gifts? That's just weird. Who gives gifts? No, gifts are a thing.
I think you can take I think you can take quizzes or something to figure it out, but your partner might be like, I'm not doing that. That's garbage. Yeah. That stuff is dumb. It's it takes 5 seconds to take the quiz, and it could be really helpful. There could be some resentment and weird arguments that keep cropping up, and you're not sure why you're not getting along right now. And if you could feed into each other's love languages a bit, you might find that there's a lot more appreciation going around,
Yeah. And it's not just going to be one thing, right? The love languages intermingle,
right?
And, so you just have to figure it out. But knowing helps, right? Because you now are able to provide something for your significant other that they may feel is lacking. They need that gift. They really want that chocolate. Where's my damn chocolate? But I think it's, according, this is a CNN health article, so depending on how much you trust CNN, I guess, it determines whether or not you believe that love languages exist and love languages are a thing.
Okay, well, CNN didn't make up love languages.
No. But I mean, this is where the article comes from. But yeah, like knowing.
I do like the different photographs in the article. First of all, like all their photographs are like people in relationships who are missing the tops of their heads because
I wasn't going to say anything.
You don't want to be like,
but I love that it.
You don't want to be focusing on who they are,
right? I just love that it cuts off at their nose. It's like they have no top of the head; they just have. They only exist from the nose down. Oh God!
All you need to know is that they're smiling. You need to know nothing else about them. But,
right.
But we've got like the guy kissing the girl. She's got roses, so she likes gifts. He likes physical touch. It's all very obvious, right? And we've got the woman hugging her girlfriend who's cooking pasta. So one of them likes physical touch and one of them likes acts of service. Mm-hmm. And these are like very generic like photos of relationships.
Right.
So it's like pretty, I feel like, ingrained in our idea of relationships that people just like to be shown affection in various ways, Right. It's like totally worth it to figure out like I think it's very worth it. And like this article says, it changes. It changes over time or for the different situations. So, it's good to just keep in contact over that.
And it could be a combination of all of them, right? Just depending on whatever mood they're in, I guess. But it can be. Like I'm just saying, there's it's like a puzzle, It's just well, no, it's not like a puzzle. I take it back, not like a puzzle, but it's. It's.
Oh, I was wondering where you're going with that, though.
I was like, never mind, because that doesn't make sense. But it's just a mix and match. You never know. But there is at least one that dominates them all, if anything, right? Like there's one that really does kind of like stand out from the rest for most people. Like I have one that stands out above the others, right? If I get this one,
what's that?
I don't necessarily need the others. Oh, it's touch. It's physical touch. Physical. I like that. One of my favorite, my favorite things is to like curdle up next to someone, and
it's nice.
Stuff like that. A little bit of.
Well, I took one where it gives you the percentages of each one, so it's not like this is your one. Yeah, it gives you like your breakdown, and I had 3 that were very closely tied.
Ooh.
So I had like. I think my number 1 was acts of service.
Sure.
And my number 2 was words of affirmation. I think my third one was physical touch, but they were all almost tied for first place.
Yeah. It wasn't chocolate.
And I do love quality time. But, chocolate was bottom though. Like gifts was at the bottom, but not like 0 because, it's like on my birthday, I like a gift.
Oh, sure. But, quality time though, quality time encompasses all those things though, right? Like that's still.
It can.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I think quality time, I almost think quality time is like I think that's encompasses everything because that's everything. Anytime you're spending with your partner that is enjoyable is quality time. I would think, right?
Well, I think physical touch and quality time are intertwined because it's like if you are touching each other, then you are spending time together.
That's true.
Some people, though, are like, stop touching me. I want to talk a bunch. Like, I don't want to be getting intimate physically right now. I want to tell you about my day. And so that's a difference between, that's quality time that does not include physical touch.
Sure.
So it doesn't always mean the same thing to me, but I guess for me, quality time was lower than physical touch because I'm like, well, if we're spending quality time together, I want to be holding hands, and sitting close together on the couch.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. The quality time with the affirmation, no, I would think so. Or acts of service is quality time, isn't it?
Well, what if they're taking your car in and you're not there with them?
I mean, that's a good point. No, that's a good point.
They are giving you their time, though, but you're like, I would rather spend the time together. Mm-hmm. That would be like, maybe they show their love through acts of service, but you're like, but I want to receive love through quality time, so I'd rather you hang out with me than take my car in. I'd rather do that myself.
Sure. No, I get you.
But yeah, they can stack for sure and like be together, and you can rack up points like pinball and get a bunch of them together, like all their top 3,
Oh my God. Wow. I'll talk about, all right. Yes. Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
You can rack up the points of love languages and win at relationships.
Oh man. All those points. Am I the winner? You are when you get that quality time. All right. Anyway. So yeah, more or less the article is saying love languages can be important. It's good to know. And that being able, if you're incompatible, but in the sense of like you want quality time, the other one wants, affirmation or whatever, like it doesn't happen to mesh well in the sense of like that you just adopt, right, for them and they adopt for you, right? You give them what they ask for and you give them they give you what you're asking for. And then love happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of love. Ooh.
Then all the butterflies and hearts and smiley faces are just floating all over the place.
Oh, the butterflies. Oh, man. I haven't experienced butterflies since I was a kid, right? I don't know. Do you still experience butterflies? I haven't had butterflies since like I was a 20-something-year-old.
I feel like a lot of times it comes with that new relationship energy, like when you start a new relationship. I don't know if it definitely wasn't the same feeling I had as a kid, As a kid, it's different. And
it's more intense.
It's more intense. Yeah. It's newer. Yeah. You aren't used to it. I don't know. It is different, but you could call it butterflies, sure. I think.
Maybe I thought it was indigestion, and I'm like, oh, that's not butterflies. My stomach's all... Maybe
you're like, I'm in love. Wait, I just need a Tums.
And then it Tums, yeah. Oh, my stomach's all grumbly. I don't know about this. But there you go. Yeah, and just talk. What this also means? Just communicate with your partner. That's all I'm saying.
That's the number one love language. Communication.
Number one love language. Just talking. Just don't talk too much.
That's your love language. Shut up.
Yes.
Less talking is my love language.
Yeah. A little more, no, a little more, and a little less, Okay, all right. Just saying. All right. I don't know.
Oh
all right,
God.
guys. Thanks, everyone, for listening. You guys have been awesome. A couple of things of note you can write in IsThisLovePod@gmail.com. I have the wrong email address on like the show notes, so whatever. I'll get that fixed. Don't forget. Oh, look. You like the show, right? You like this show. You enjoy it. You love Sarah and I going off on tangents and laughing about stuff and talking about Mazzy Star. Sure, you like that stuff.
Yay.
Well, all you got to do, really, this is all you have to do. We're not asking for money, even though if you want to hear the bonus episodes, $1 a month on my Patreon will help. But we don't. That's not important. The important thing is you go out there, you go onto your pod thing, whatever it is, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, whatever it is, and just give us a rating, 5 stars preferably. Give us that 5-star rating, or leave a review. Let people know, that lets people know we exist, and also lets people know we're worth listening to. Because you're listening to us, so therefore we must be worth listening to a little bit. So go ahead and do that for us. We'd really appreciate it. If you want to send us any message, it's at Twitter, Instagram, even Facebook, IsThisLovePod. Go look that up. You will find us. Again, IsThisLovePod@gmail.com is if you want to send an email like our questioners did. You can go ahead and do that. And if you just want to follow me, aka the other guy, I don't know why you would, but go ahead. That's me on Twitter and Instagram. I post stuff there too. But we post stuff, we share articles, we share pictures of wildlife and forestry, and answer those questions and all that good stuff. So thanks everyone for listening. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been amazing. I'm not going to say I love you because that's not true. I adore you.
Aww.
I also think you're hot. Every one of you.
Oh.
You're listening to us. Y'all are hot. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm getting sunburned from it, so I better go. So don't forget to not only love your neighbor, but also that one stripper that tweaked your nipples at one time, like they did with me. All right. Bye, everyone.